Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at Traveler, an area in the Spinwood Marches called the Bowman Arm. This is from a supplement from 2016. I bought this right when it came out, and I'm running a campaign currently in the Spinwood Marches in District 268, and that's where the Bowman Arm is. So there's a lot of stuff in here that pertains to my particular campaign. I'm going to go through the book and show you why I thought it was a good thing for me to pick up. Back in 2016, but now, 6 years later, I'm finding new use for it again. So it was an enjoyable read, and now it actually pertains exactly to my campaign. So I'm going to take a look at it today on page 121. I also want to remind you, I'm doing subscription drive, as always, looking for new subscribers. Thank you for everybody who has subscribed. I wouldn't be here without your support. I also have a Patreon up right now. I don't have a reward going for Patreon right now, but I am working on a Traveler reward at the moment. I don't know what it will be yet. Traveler or 2-6 related reward. I haven't decided either one yet. If you follow my channel, you know that my time has been something of a premium lately due to circumstances in my personal life. But time is freeing up a little bit more, so I'm hoping to be able to sit down and actually get my notes together and actually write out what I was thinking about. So that's still going to be a little ways down the line, but please take a look at the Patreon. Anyway, I'm always looking to improve the channel electronically, background, things like that. So in any way you can help out, that'd be great. But back to the topic at hand, we're going to take a look at the Spinwood Marches. This is Spinwood Marches, Spinwood Marches, Book 1, The Bowman Arm, from Mongoose. Okay, this is for Mongoose 2nd Traveler, and this is Spinwood Marches, The Bowman Arm. It's still available through Mongoose's website or through DriveThruRPG. I enjoyed this book a great deal. I know that PDFs for these smaller books, this is only about 24 pages, PDFs for these smaller books are a little pricey, but I do feel that when I bought this back in 16, I felt that I really got my money's worth out of it, and I still obviously feel that way today. So here we go. We get our little, the table of contents. This was written by Martin J. Doherty, which is always a good thing to see. And then we come right away to the introduction. And when they talk about the Spinwood Main, a little bit about the Spinwood Marches themselves. For anybody who doesn't really know the Spinwood Marches in Traveler, they're kind of a backwater behind the claw from the Imperium itself. They're cut off by the Great Rift, and they're referred to as being behind the claw. And a lot of it, the Spinwood Marches, are not incorporated into the Imperium. So the section that I'm running my current game in District 268, out of now Collis, is not in the Imperium. Collis wants to go into the Imperium, but they haven't made it yet. So this goes into a lot of detail about the Spinwood Main itself. A main in Traveler is anything that can be traversed easily by Jump 1 vessels. Arguably, there are a couple of Jump 2 mains also. But a main, it would be a main trading route, a hub, just like the old days of sail, where you would take certain routes and they'd be faster and easier for the ships than going other ways. Those became mains. That's what the Spinwood Main is in this case. So we get a nice look at the Spinwood Main, the Bowman Arm, and then District 268 itself. I love District 268. I've run probably more campaigns in the Marches, certainly, and in District 268 particularly, than anywhere else I've run in the Imperium. I've run games on the Solomani Rim. I've run them pretty much everywhere around the Imperium. Oddly enough, never in core. I've never run a game actually in core. And the third Imperium book is changing my mind on that. So the next game I start up might be starting up around core. But for here, my campaign started in Matmos in District 268. And they are moving their way up. They've gone up to Collis. And now if you saw my previous video of what to do when players take your campaign sideways, they've decided they're going to be pirates. So I have to work out how they're going to be pirates, but that's one of the reasons I went back to this book when I remembered I had bought it years ago and I'd read it. There's a lot of information about the area they're going to be pirating. So a lot of this area, it's a little further galactic north, whatever you want to call it. I forget off the top of my head, of Matmos, which is the bottommost area of District 268. But once you get up a little bit away from that, you get into different worlds. And some of these are actually sword worlds. I'm going to be doing a video on Sword Worlds sometime down the line because I love the Sword Worlds. Vikings in space, what's not to love? So we'll take a look at the Sword Worlds in another campaign or another video. But this is an opportunity to take a look at a couple of the Sword Worlds. So each world is called out. They've got their base stats, and then they've got a couple of paragraphs. And now we go to the Bowman arm, as the main is called when it's up around the world of Bowman. And or right around that area, not the world of Bowman. But you get a nice look at the different worlds again with a paragraph here and there. You get a nice look. There's a couple of red zone worlds, which is nice because they don't tell you why they're red zones, and your players may or may not want to go ahead and try to break the quarantine and see what's what. A red zone, if you saw my previous video, I explained what red zones and amber zones were, but a red zone is an area where travel is forbidden for reasons best left unsaid. The Imperium rarely says why a world is in a red zone, just that it is. Don't go there. And now we get a nice look, a system profile. The system is Walston. And I've always thought that Walston was named for actor Ray Walston, who played Uncle Martin, the Martian, in My Favorite Martian in the early 60s sitcom. Ray Walston was also in a ton of other stuff, including The Sting, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He played Mr. Hand. Good actor. Really always enjoyed his stuff, and I believe this is an homage to him. I can't prove it, but I think so. So here we get a nice system overview of Walston itself, with the breakdown of the individual planets' universal world profiles, and then a paragraph lip out a little bit of it, and then we get a nice look at Walston itself and some of the interesting stuff you can do once you're there, the plant and animal life. There's a little rabbit-looking thing with no ears. This just a really good book because it gives you ideas. I had an idea for the little rabbit thing while they're on the planet. My players don't know this yet, but they will once they see this video. I was thinking of having these little hamster rabbit things, whatever they are, get into the ship and kind of infest it, having them breed like rabbits. And they have to deal with these cute little fuzzy bunnies that they need to get off their ship because they're chewing all the wiring. So that's just a little side thing I'm thinking of doing. I haven't decided that for sure yet. So players, even if you're hearing this, oh well, we'll see how it goes. So we continue on here, living and working on Walston, and then adventures on Walston. And again, this is only a 24-page book, but you get a lot in here. It's almost like the old Amber Zone from the old Journal of Travelers' Aid Society, where it's just a bunch of little ideas and adventure hooks. And I actually find reading this kind of system supplement to be great to generate ideas. So we get adventures in Walston, and dealing with raiders, and adventuring in the Bowman Arm itself. The Bowman Arm Joint Security Initiative. I love little logos like that. Trade Scouts, Diplomacy, Chart and Survey. Mercenaries, Covert Operations, Explorers, Freedom Fighters, Things Best Left Undisturbed, The Near Future, and the Bowman Arm. So this is really just a short little book giving us different ideas and things you can do in one chunk of space. The fact that it dovetailed nicely with the area that I had chosen to run my current campaign really worked for me. I do recommend this book. As I said, I'll put a link below for the Mongoose page, and I'll throw the Drive-Thru RPG link as well, so you can take a look at this yourself. There's a whole bunch of other ones in this series. I think it went to 6 books. I gotta see if I've got the others or not. I don't remember off the top of my head if I did. But anything with the Spinwood Marches, I find worth buying. I picked up Behind the Claw. There's a couple other things I'm going to be getting my hands on, simply because anything with the Spinwood Marches is definitely something I want to read in Traveler. I've read many iterations of Spinwood Marches over the years. Spinwood Marches was also where Traveler, when it was originally created, was created to be universe free. In other words, it was believed, like D&D, that the referee would go ahead and just create his own universe. They didn't want anything pre-published by the publisher. It was all up to you. Well, as in D&D, the players soon proved the publishers wrong and said, hey, we'd like an official setting here. So the start of the official setting for Traveler was the Spinwood Marches. And then they fleshed out the rest of the Imperium as we went. It's neat reading some of the old stuff set in the Spinwood Marches, because there's an occasional reference to the Emperor, and he kind of reads like Ming the Merciless in some of those, where he's just this old evil guy who's sitting on his throne plotting and planning. And I realized that Ming the Merciless or the Emperor from Star Wars, they're basically the same thing. Uh, and the Emperor from Star Wars might be more of what they were going for, simply because when a lot of these books were published, Star Wars was new or developing. But it's fun to read some of that stuff because the Emperor is so mentioned as being so heinous. It's kind of fun to kind of read between the lines on some of the stuff they say about him. So now we're going to take a look at. I'm excited about having the Bowman arm in my Spinwood Marches. Now I'm going to take a look at the Traveler map, and I'm going to show you how to work this stuff with your Traveler map. Okay, I've called up District 268 on the Traveler map. If I shrink it a little bit, there you see the District 268 logo, and then I expand it. I absolutely love the Traveler map. I did a video on this not too long ago. There's a few other videos out there about it. Just type in Traveler map and you'll get right to the site. The folks behind this thing are just geniuses. I love them. My campaign started out here down in Matmos, and I kind of nudged the players a little bit to Trexelon and then up to Collis. And as I said in the previous video, at Collis, this previous video about what to do when your travelers take your campaign sideways, they got to Collis. They were brought aboard for one specific job to help fire a crew of a privately owned far trader and the crew was skimming money off the top. So the owner wanted them fired. They were brought along basically as muscle. They decided that they would offer to crew the ship themselves, and now I think they're going to be pirates. So it's an interesting thing I hadn't planned on, but right now my campaign, they're sitting in Collis, and they're right here on the lower main here, and this main takes them all the way up to the Bowman arm. Going to the Bowman arm, here's Walston right here. Bowman is right next door. So Walston is the main area that in the book I just showed, they talk about how you can adventure on Walston, things like that. And here it is on the Traveler map. So your players know right where it is. You've got a nice Nearton. You've got a nice red zone world right next to it. So I've always found this to be an exciting area for travelers to game in the Spinwood Marches. I've always loved District 268. I first started down there in Tarsus in the old box set. I always loved that box set. And I like that there's no Imperium in District 268 for the most part. There's a little bit down here. Here's the Imperium proper right there. And then there's a little bit more Imperium here. There's this little pocket and this has Andor and Kendori, which are the droid worlds that are red zoned for reasons not told to the public. So there's a lot to adventure down here. If you go up, here's the Sword Worlds Confederation right there with their main, but it can be tricky dealing with the Sword Worlds. Now a little chunk of the Imperium there, another Imperial world there. These are basically just tripwires for the Sword Worlds if they invade again in a frontier war. This is the period between the 4th and 5th Frontier War. I'm pretty excited about the 5th Frontier War, which will be coming up, I think, in-game about another 6 years. I think we're in 1105 right now in Mongoose. And 1111 is I was just thinking this off the top of my head, but I believe it's 1111 was the start of the 5th Frontier War. I'm pretty excited to see Mongoose's take on that. I don't know that we're going to see that anytime soon, though. I'm not sure how anxious Mongoose is to advance the calendar because of what happens in 1116 with the assassination of Emperor Strephon and rebellion. Depends on, that's something they may not want to address, and so it could be quite a while. But back to the point at hand, this is a nice little main. They're going to be in a Jump 2 Far Trader, and they're going to be able to go pretty much wherever they want. They've got little pop-up turrets, which I put on the ship just thinking it would be fun for them to just be aboard the ship. And I designed the ship because I was having some fun. And I installed 2 pop-up turrets. And I gave it a military-grade sensor suite, just thinking, if it ended up that the players did run on this ship for a little while, that those would be good things for them to have their fingertips, and they don't have to pay the mortgage on this thing. It's already owned. They just have to pay a percentage, 10% gross, to the ship owner, and pretty much everything else they get to keep. The one thing he asks is honesty. Don't skim from him. The owner is a retired Imperial Admiral who is very disgruntled with the Imperium and has moved out of the Imperium. He was from Redactor, and he's moved out of the Imperium to Collis and is embracing the lawlessness that's found at Collis. So that's my campaign going right now. If you saw my last video, you know about a lot of that and what my players are doing there. But I just wanted to show the main itself. We've got a bunch of jump ones going all the way up into the Bowman arm, all the way into the Sword Worlds, all the way into the, I believe this is the Five Sisters. Yes, the Five Sisters sector, subsector, sorry. I love this section of space for Traveler. So that's all I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you the book itself, then I wanted to show you how to use the Traveler map to have this handy. When I was rereading this book, I pulled the Traveler map up on my smart TV, and I just kind of had that there so I could just lift my head and look at it. So that's one way to do it too. It's unbelievably handy to have a resource like this. I think back to the beginning of Traveler and how hard it was to even to find sector maps and subsector maps and things like that. And the age we're in now, I'm old. I'm stunned. Having something like this at my fingertips is just amazing. So that's all I've got to say today from page 121. I hope you liked what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe. As I said, I'm still trying to grow the channel. And also, please remember the Patreon. If and when I post something up for the Patreon for Traveler, I will make it aware. I will post it in videos, and I'll mention it. So that's all I've got to say today. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time on page 121.